Let's get this thing cracking. Let's get this show on the road. Okay, all right, okay. We're live. Really quickly, wanted to jump on here and have a conversation with y'all because a lot of stuff has happened in the world of video and mirrorless today. A whole lot has happened from one particular company and not a lot, if not nothing, from another particular company. So I just wanted to jump on real quick and just have a chat with y'all real quick and talk about a few things. We got a few things to talk about. We got three things to talk about today. Three really quick things to talk about. One is the Canon EOS R5 because I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of hearing about it. Not saying it's a bad thing, but I just, there's some method to why you're starting to hear a lot, especially on today, because something else is supposed to happen today, and we're going to get to that as well. That's our third thing. And our second thing is going to be the C300 CRP. That's right, for the C300 Mark III tax. Appreciate it, because that's the second thing we're talking about today. So first, I don't want to keep y'all long. It's Monday. People got stuff to do. What up? We got ex-Army medics in here. Okay. What up, though? Must be from the D. Must be a 68 whiskey from the D. Somebody say, I surprised you with the live. I go live at any time. You got to catch me on here. If you see the other videos, you can catch me on the gram. Sometimes I go live on the gram. I like to reach out and just talk to people and have conversations on the gram. But today, let's start with the Canon EOS R5. And let's talk about just some of the stuff that's going on with it and why it was released. The other data was confirmed out of all days in the world today. Today was supposed to be some sort of announcement from Sony. It never happened. We're going to get to that in a minute. But I don't know if it was like smokescreen from Sony, but they did such a great job that Canon decided to come out of nowhere to kind of derail that information or derail that good news or derail whatever Sony had up its sleeve. Canon released two bombshells today. One is they confirmed specs for the EOS R5, which is a flagship mirrorless camera that's coming for Canon. Now, there are some things you got to know about this camera and why. I don't care what brand you're loyal to, you may want to pay attention to this. First of all, this camera is promising to be a full frame camera that's giving you 8K RAW internally. Let me say that again. 8K RAW internally. That's absolutely mind-blowingly sick. So, Sony, I haven't heard, somebody said, didn't Sony move their announcement to the 27th? Not publicly, I have not seen nothing. I actually got up and was looking for a way to stream it because I was going to go live with their announcement. So let's just talk about what else comes with the EOS R5. It's going to be 45 megapixel, full frame, mirrorless camera, 8K internally, 4K, 422, 10-bit internally. So that's a whole lot, man. That's a whole lot. I think they just tried to throw a fastball at Sony, thinking that Sony was going to make an announcement today and we're going to combat that announcement with our stuff. So Sony could have played a card just to make them play their best hand, just to see what they were holding. It could have been that. But let's also talk about what else you get. You get, like I said, 8K internal raw recording up to 29.9 or 30 frames a second. You get 8K raw recording, like I said, 422 10-bit internally and H.265, which is cool if you don't want to do raw. You get 4K at 120 frames per second, and you get 4K external recording, which is available up to 60 frames a second. Now, I don't know why they would cap. Maybe HDMI technology is not there to output 4K, which I doubt, but I don't know why they would cap it. I have no idea. Canon's also saying that there is no crop on the 8K or 4K. You can use the whole sensor. That was something that Canon had been lacking from all the other mirrorless cameras as far as having full functionality. Somebody said, all I really want is 120 frames per second autofocus. That has not been named in this, but it has been named in the other camera we're going to talk about. And correct, 4K displays aren't popular yet. 8K displays aren't popular yet. 4K or 8K. Hell, 2K displays aren't popular yet. Most displays in people's houses are 720p still. A lot of people don't even got 1080p. They're about neck and neck, and 1080p should take over in the next year or so. But most broadcasts, like you can't get a true 1080p uncompressed full quality that your TV can handle signal to your TV right now. The closest you can get is a compressed Netflix or YouTube TV. And you can't even, like, if you got an Apple device, you technically can't even get the full quality from YouTube unless you go through a Chrome browser. So if you got Apple TV, forget about it. If you're using Safari, forget about it, because Google and Apple is beefing on, you know, what they want to use. So it's all kind of crap. Extra resolution is for cropping. I will give you that. But right now it's just a bidding war right now. It's just a resolution war right now. And we get the benefit from that because we get to sit in the middle and get to pick and choose out of crazy resolutions. I think that Sharp camera, remember when Sharp announced that 8K camera that recorded to an SD card last NAB? It kind of put the pressure on people because they were like, we're recording 8K at this little camera on this SD card. Like, what is your excuse? What is your excuse right now? So Canon says, okay, we're going to go back to the drawing board. And you know Sony got something coming. What Sony often does is it builds sensors for other people. It let them get their version of their lens and their camera, and then it sits back and put out its own, which is usually a much better version after everybody then ate and got their money off their censoring. So just want to make sure I go over the stats, a few other stats with the EOS R5 that you need to know about. There's a lot of other stuff, but you still get dual pixel autofocus. You get a 5-axis in-body image stabilization, dual slots, so you're getting a CFast slot and a SD slot. So get ready to buy CFast cards. You're not going to be able to avoid them like you can with the Blackmagic or with the Ursa. You're probably going to have to buy CFast cards. And with CFast, with them knowing that the price hasn't dropped as fast as I think it needs to drop. So get ready to buy CFast cards. It sucks, but you're going to have to get ready to buy it. Let's go to the next camera. The the C300 Mark III, which is a $11,000 camera, and it's not bad. It's not bad. There are some very interesting things about this camera that you got to know about. There is some new technology with it that I like, that I had to dig and learn about, and now that I know about it, I really like it. But let's go over the specs. Super 35 sensor, so not full frame like the R5. Less shallow depth of field than the R5, but that's cool. We're not complaining about that too much. 4K at 120 frames a second, 2K at 118 frames per second. The EOS R5 price point has not been publicly set. I'm going to tell you, get ready to spend close to $5,000 for it. Get ready to spend $4,500. If we're lucky, $3,500. But because this camera is eating into their cinema lineup that deep, they're going to make a lot off of it. So be ready to spend close to $5,000. If it's $3,500, I'm cool. That works. I'll go get one. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little less than whatever the 1DX is going. I've heard rumors of it being $3,500, but they have not publicly said this is what the price is going to be. You got to remember when the R4 dropped. I'm sorry, when the A7R3 and R4 dropped, they were around $4,200 to $4,500, and those are 40 megapixel cameras. So the R5 is usually going to be Canon's usually a little more expensive. So get ready to spend about $5,000 for this camera. If it's $3,500, we'd be lucky, but this camera is pretty much eliminating a majority of their cinema lineup. They don't have an 8K cinema camera. So it's going to cut into some sales. It pretty much, the C200 is giving you raw light. Even the C300 Mark III is giving you raw light. They haven't put the word light next to raw when they described the R5. They just called it raw. So is it not a light version? Is it a full version? Like what are we really getting? You don't know until you buy a Canon or you get a chance to touch it or get a chance to play with it. But back to the C300 Mark III, because there's three things that make this camera really, really dope. One, it's claim to be much better in low light. And we already know Canon cameras are extremely good in low light. They're not A7S2 low light capabilities, but they're very, very good. Second, this one has 16 plus stops of dynamic range. Now, you're probably going to get 14, maybe 15 with the R5. And if resolution is important to you, that may seem like a better option. But if you want dynamic range, the C300 Mark III is probably going to be your best bet in Canon cinema lineup under $15,000. They have a new technology that's like dual pixel autofocus, but it's actually better than dual pixel autofocus. It's called DGO, and I want to make sure I get the correct name of it before I go into explaining how it works. Because it's like dual pixel autofocus, but it's not dual pixel autofocus. It's a little bit better than dual pixel autofocus. Let me make sure I get because it's called, I think it's digital gain output. Yes, dual gain output. Okay, so what's dope about the C300, and the thing that is, to me, the key feature and one of the most important things you need to take away from understanding what the C300 Mark III offers that no other camera on the market currently offers, is the dual gain output. Now, unlike your camera now, let's say you got a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera that has dual native ISO. So that means you get a clean image at 3200 ISO and 800 ISO. What the C300 does is it takes a look at the image and it only applies gain to one or the other, highlights or shadows. Let that sink in for a minute. So instead of you having to shoot at ISO 3200 where it's super bright and your dynamic range shifts a little bit, this camera only adds gain to the area in which it needs, like shadows or midtones. It don't add it to the whole image. So it'll separate where it needs to lighten. So it's more of like an HDR style, I want to say effect. It's not really an effect because it happens in processing. It's more of like an HDR image. And by doing that, by adding gain to areas that need gain and not distorting the rest of the picture, not adding grain throughout the rest of the image, it'll bring up certain areas of the image, which gives you a very high dynamic range. 16 stops is ridiculous. 15 stops is ridiculous. Like, that's red level. So that's something to think about when you look at picking up this camera. If you're a C500 user, they're going to have to hurry up and push this to the C500s, or come out with an update, or people are going to start downgrading. It has the new Digic 7 DV7 image processor, which Canon always come out with a new one. They probably increase it by 2% and call it something new. Internal raw light, 2 CFast cards, dual pixel autofocus up to 120 frames a second. So that's something to keep in mind. And the feature that I was talking about, DGO, only works up to 60 frames a second. Anything after that, you're on your own. You're not going to be able to get the full dynamic range out of the camera. But that is a feature I can see coming to other cameras down the lineup. And I mean, other cinema cameras. Those are things. So what they're going to probably do is this. They're going to probably give you all the resolution in the world on their mirrorless cameras. They're not going to give you the dynamic range to go with it. They're going to give you all of the resolution, all of the frame rates, all of the RAW in the world, all of the C logs in the world, but they're not going to give you the dynamic range. The dynamic range, and that's what currently sets them apart. The dynamic range is what's going to set the cameras apart. And if you want 4K at 16, 17, 18 stops of dynamic range, which I would rather take over 8K at 13 stops of dynamic range, you're going to have to get a cinema camera. Plus, you still got a lot of other things like built-in ND. You got audio. You got just things like that just works better. Form factor, built-in screen, eyepiece, depending on, what type of camera you're using. So it's something to think about when you're deciding what you want to purchase. I can purchase this small camera that gives me 8K of grainy footage. Not grainy footage, I'm just talking junk. But I can get less quality with a larger resolution, or I can get less resolution and more quality. I would personally take the higher dynamic range. That's just me. You can do the things you can do with a higher dynamic range. It's just amazing. So just something to think about. Something to think about. For the best image resolution, I'm not gonna say resolution doesn't matter, but let's be real. After about 2K, it don't matter. Some of the most expensive Alexas shooting 2K or 3K, and then it upsamples to 4K, and half of you guys don't even notice. So I'm sure, like right now, I'm shooting in HD. This is an HD camera. It does. I'm not in 4K. It still looks fairly decent. Nobody's complaining. So it's just something to think about when you make that purchase and you go all crazy. Now, another thing too, which depending on the file size, sometimes resolution can equal a larger file size. Now that differs. If I got a 8K, image shot at 100 megabytes a second, and I got a 4K image shot at a terabyte a second, then it's gonna be different. But usually with a higher resolution file, if we're doing 8K H.265 and I'm doing 4K H.265 and I have a higher dynamic range, you're going to have a bigger file than I am, and I'm going to have a better file typically because of the dynamic range than you will. That's more of my opinion than scientific fact, but then it's kind of difficult because you got to compare different cameras. If you're doing it on the same camera, you're going to probably have a larger, because 8K is just a massive file compared to a fully loaded 4K file. But then you're talking raw and it's something completely different. So for me, dynamic range, better audio, global shutter, those things are more important for a run and gun documentary style shooter. You can get great images out of the mirrorless, but brother, you're gonna work for it. So that's my 2 cents. That's what I think about it. And let's talk about the Sony event that didn't happen real quick, because they had it blasted everywhere that they were going to do 420 was the day, and nothing really happened on 420. I was waiting. Somebody said they supposedly moved it to the 22nd. I haven't heard nothing. Now, if you've watched any of my A7 prediction videos, I told you they're dropping the A7R3 and the A7R4. One will be a 6K, one will be a 8K. Those were my predictions. You're going to definitely get RAW. You're going to probably get a CFast card. Or you're probably going to have the ability to record externally. And with all of these 8K externals coming out, you probably want to watch Atomos, because they're probably going to drop an 8K Inferno. So I wouldn't be surprised. Or some type of 8K recorder. See, somebody said it was moved to the 30th. It was moved to the 27th, and it was moved to the 30th. I got a bunch of emails saying today was the day, and I got no emails saying that it was moved. However, like I said, Canon's going to war with Sony right now. They are head up with Sony right now. It is a 2-pony race, and they are battling right now. Sony is a little laid back because they make money off a lot of other sensors that they put out. Supposedly, rumor has it, see these air quotations, Panasonic, I know Nikon, maybe even Blackmagic. Used to be GoPro. They don't do GoPro because GoPro started developing their own sensor, but DJI, a lot of those guys buy sensors from Sony. Now, so Sony will put out some, because if Sony come out with a massive 8K that kills everything, let's say they come out with an 8K, 240 frame a second, 21 stops of dynamic range, nobody else is selling cameras. So listen, I'll give you 8K 30, I'll give you 6K 120, I'll let y'all eat, y'all make y'all sales, y'all earn y'all way in the market, and then I'm gonna drop my big boy. Soon as everybody get all comfortable, we gonna change the game. So, they probably did move it because they probably, and then you got to think about it like this, because Canon, that was a nice move for Canon to say, hey, we dropping it on the same day you dropping your stuff, because I want to pull some attention away. You got to think about it like this. Well, what's going on in the world? Production is crazy. You don't want to announce something in April that people can't buy until December. You just don't. The only time that works is if you're doing something like PlayStation, Xbox, where there's not really no competition. But Blackmagic, I think Blackmagic had another camera in his lineup, and they were like, we have a bad reputation for not delivering cameras on time. We don't want to announce another camera just to build the hype, and we can't deliver it. So I think probably somebody in Blackmagic was like, nah, let's hold off. we'll announce it. We'll do a random announcement like they did because the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K, it came at a time where we thought we was just getting updates. And I was like, whoa, that camera, that's a whole nother camera right there, fam. Like what we gonna do? You know what I'm saying? So that was something that came different. But keep in mind, once everything clear up, China's kind of back to working a little bit. They're kind of recovering. They'll probably they're in a better situation than we are over here in the States. So they'll continue to go back to work before we will. So trust me, by the end of the year, we'll probably have a ton of cameras to choose from around Black Friday time. That'll push down the price of old inventory so they can start moving a bunch of stuff. Somebody say, stay healthy, stay safe. Take the virus shot. Now back to time. I got you, Bo. So somebody said move to 30th at 2 p.m. Post a link if you got one. Because if they moved it, I would love to jump on here with it and kind of do a live thing talking about it. But I haven't heard anything. I've been searching, and I've even reached out to Sony reps that I have a relationship with, and they were like, I don't know. We'll see. So be on the lookout. If I can find a live stream and they go live, then I will jump on here and do more of a live show, just kind of like we did with the Blackmagic, just talking about it. So with that, I don't want to keep you guys long today because it's Monday and I'm sure you got a lot of quarantining to do. If you guys have any questions about these three particular things, the Sony EOS R5, the C300 Mark III, and the lack thereof Sony announcement, please post them below. Somebody said in a few years you'll be able to buy EF glass dirt cheap. I don't think so. EF glass had a very, very, very long run, and it's adaptable to RF or it's adaptable. So I don't think EF is going to be that cheap. Not unless we move to a sensor size that's larger than we move to a sensor size that's larger than what the EF can handle, and then you like micro four thirds are dirt cheap because you can't really adapt the glass to nothing else but a micro four third. Like I've seen somebody put a micro four third on a Sony EF mount, but it was vignetting like crazy. Wasn't even worth it. That glass is gonna be cheap, but EF is adaptable. It's gonna be everywhere. So just something to think about. Let's see. Sony workers got high. That's why they moved it. That could be true. It is 420. I got emails coming in. What do I think about the new 25-250 that's coming with the C200? The new lens. Yes. I think it's dope. I don't work with a lot of servo lenses in my line of work because I do mostly cinema. So I like prime, maybe zoom, something like the 18-35. I have worked with servo lenses, especially working around sports. I didn't see the price for it though. So I got to see what the price on that thing is. But again, if they announced it with an $11,000 camera, it's not going to be a $3,000 lens. That's just how they roll. They'll let you know off rip, this ain't for you, bruh. Go check your bank account again. This whole announcement ain't for you. Like they don't even put like point and shoots next to, you know what I'm saying, cameras that cost money. They're like, we're gonna have a whole nother little event for y'all point and shoot guys, for y'all under y'all sub $10,000 guys. We're gonna have a whole nother shoot for you. You know, but this the big boy. It's the big boy announcements. So we ain't gonna announce nothing cheap. What camera am I using for live? I'm using a Canon C100 Mark I. It's the originator. I'm using that with a Sling Studio. C100 Mark I. Real quick, I gotta pop this. Wait, let me get that off the screen. Y'all know I gotta pop. Y'all know it's coming. For those that watch the lives, let me pop this on because this video is sponsored by us, Flash Film Academy. Shoot. Any thoughts on Nikon and what they may do with video? Man, Nikon got to go back to the drawing board and start developing their own sensor. I mean, think about it. Like, okay, so think about TVs, right? TVs are maxed out. Like, what else can you do to a TV, right? They are pushing TVs. They try to add everything to a TV to increase the price. We're going to make it thinner. We're going to make it a smart TV. They tried 3D. They tried HDR. They went to 4K, 8K. Like, what's next? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are they going to do next? Because if you got a 4K smart TV with HDR right now, you have no motivation to buy a TV for the next 10 years at least. Unless your TV die, you have no motivation to buy one. So they got to find a way to get people to buy TVs. Like, TVs are so cheap and small, you can put one in every room. They're starting to put them on refrigerators. They're starting to put them on. You can put a TV in your shower right now. So cameras are getting that way. Like, once we reach 8K, like, what's next? Like, what's next? Low light capability, dynamic range. When we get to about 20 stops of dynamic range, I think the average eye sees about 21 to 24. Somebody might want to correct me on that, but when we get to 20 stops of dynamic range, and you can do 240 frames a second in 8K, like, what's next? Like, night vision? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's next? Making it smaller? That's the only thing that's next. Flying Ryan, what's up? So those are things that you know what I'm saying? We're getting there in cameras. And then you got to realize this, right? Fresh on the heels of cameras are cell phones, right? Fresh on the heels of not cinema. They may not affect cinema cameras, but everything below a professional camera. Good night. Apple is the #1 selling camera maker on the planet right now. Apple sells more cameras than all other companies combined times 3. Apple is the #1 camera company on the planet. So just let that sink in for a second. I'm working on something to show the decline of DSLRs since 2010. That's when camera phones really started pushing. With the R5 Extreme feature jump, is it worth upgrade? Yeah, it's worth upgrading from anything if you want video. Somebody said the hub happy ending for TV for $7,500. They'll sell millions. Jonathan, you're definitely right. They'll sell a few this way. No, I'm joking. I ain't, but I am, but I ain't. If sponsors are watching, I'm joking. To my members, I ain't joking. Anyway, so, it's just, they're just trying to find ways to sell more stuff. Make TVs thinner, make them bigger, make them flatter. You got projectors that's coming in, and what are projectors doing? Nothing. Getting brighter, getting darker at the same time, getting closer. That's all they can do. So they're trying to find ways. $29K for this Canon servo lens. Yeah, Franklin, there is no way. There is no way. I'll rent it, but there's no way. Can you imagine putting that on like a T2i? What is it, a PL mount? So I think some of the issues that consumers has to catch up with technology by having TVs that can play 4K and 8K. I mean, I agree with you. We don't have a way to watch it. Listen, if you got a 4K TV, right? I'm going to try this. And you got a 4K camera. Film something on your 4K camera and plug it directly into your TV. Plug that and watch you see a picture that is like, wow, I've never seen a picture this good. Like, you will get the best picture of your life going directly from your camera to your 4K. And that's if your camera outputs in 4K. Your camera may only output HDMI in 1080p. But if you have a camera that outputs 4K, even if you got a 1080p TV and you got a 4K camera, connect it and look at the image and watch how blown away you are to see the image coming directly from the camera. It is the best image you'll ever see anywhere. It is mind-blowing. Should you still invest in EF lenses? Yes. I don't think EF lenses are going anywhere anytime soon. I think some of the issue. So the thing, this is you got to think about too, right? Americans, we like to look the part, right? That's why fashion's big here. Like, fashion is the biggest ripoff in all of the world, right? Because somebody can say that shirt is in, that shirt is out, though they cost the same $3 to make. That one is $3,000. That one is only $300, and people will run to buy a $3,000 shirt because it's in. Technology is starting to get that way, where it doesn't even hold weight. Just because it's called this, that, and the other, people want it and they go and buy this. That's why you see a lot of companies like rebranding certain technologies. Like, they're coming out with their own technologies. I think that was a message from Sony right there. That's why they're coming out with join us April 30th to discover the latest tools and technologies. That is literally a message from Sony right there. So yeah, April 30th. They're going live April 30th. April 30th at 2 p.m. GMT time. So I'll probably go live. There you go. You got it live and direct. Boom, bang, pow. So companies are coming up with name, like what is a Digix 7 processor? Like what is the difference? But it's their own big name, that sticker that they can put on the box. So you feel like you're getting more because they increase the ability to output red 2% higher than the last chip, but it's an improvement that is 2%. You know what I'm saying? All that crap to get you to buy it and you feel like you're getting something. So it's just a big, cameras just got all kind of technology that's, I'm not going to say useless, but it's designed to put on a box or to list in the feature side of Adorama or B&H so you feel comfortable with spending money. Remember how I told you need to itemize items? That shows value. People feel comfortable when the list of stuff they're buying had 1,000 things on it and they're spending $10,000 for it, then to spend $10,000 and it just say camera. So that's just that's itemizing. Somebody said Sony's in the chat. They saw me CRP. They probably did. They was like, tell your viewers we're going to be on. So, I mean, they just want to market it one-on-one. If you follow this channel, you know I talk about it, right? They list a bunch of things. That's why when you go to a Sony page and they talk about their camera, they got 1 million features listed. 1 million things. And it's really only 3 that's new. They do that so you can feel comfortable cutting that check. It's an $11,000 camera. The C300 is. They want you to feel comfortable about cutting that check. Somebody said you can use EF or EFS or EFM, Canon RF, third-party adapters, Micro Four Thirds, Nikon. Yeah, you can use all of that stuff. Yeah, EF to me is the best lens on the market. So, what do you say is more important? New lights like Godox or new lenses? Lights are always. I can kill a game with a stock lens and a bunch of great lights and an understanding of lighting. I've done it all the time. I've had people say, you only shooting me because you got an L glass. Take my L glass. Give me your stock lens and watch I run circles around you. And it happens. I mean, it happened to me when I was in photography school and I was in the Army. I had an instructor who was further along. He had 2 5D Mark IIIs at the time, a bunch of L glass. I'm shooting on some rinky-dink Nikon. And I was like, you can only outshoot me because you got L glass. He said, here, I'm going to give you both my cameras. And I'm going to take your stock camera. And he put me on that mat. Gave me a 2-piece and a biscuit. And at that moment, I knew that told me equipment was nothing. I ain't going to say equipment is nothing, but your understanding of lighting and your understanding for what you do is more important than the gear you use. The gear just help you get there quicker, right? A good race car driver can beat you in a car that got 100 horsepower less because he know how to handle the curves. He know when to slow down. He know when to accelerate. He know when to brake and when not to brake. You can get all the horsepower in the world and you don't know how to handle a car in a turn. You've been a crash. You've been a lost control, or you may not possess the knowledge needed to master the course. Right? You may accelerate in the wrong, too early coming out of a turn. You may brake too late. His knowledge will help him, his experience and his knowledge and understanding of how that car works will help him beat you every time. I always see it. Would it be crazy to jump from A7 III to Canon EOS 6 or 5? I love the photo look of Sony, but I'm not happy with the color and video of the A7 III. I know part is just me. I personally wouldn't, because I know how to manipulate my Sony to get the color to look better than Canon. I shot a lot of video with this bad boy, A7R3. But I know how to get the colors out of it. You may want to invest in some color grading before you make that jump, because you're going to make that jump and get less features. Now look, the Eos R5, now listen, hey, all bets off the table. If you want to get that bad boy, I would jump into it unless I find out what Sony's doing. But I personally wouldn't jump over to what Canon currently has in their mirrorless lineup. That's just me. Sony needs to ramp up their support. Yeah, they're growing probably faster than they want. Would it be a good choice What would I would, okay. Somebody asked, would I choose the C300 over the Eos R5? If I'm doing video, C300. Now, because I'm telling you, it's going to still offer a higher dynamic range. Canon is not going to fully kill itself. Now, if I do any photography, if I got to choose one camera, I'm going to choose the R5. That's just me. What up, Michael? Appreciate you. Long time no here. Been working on a brand and listening to some audio. My personal MBA. Yep. Can't wait for the lockdown to be lifted. My personal MBA is one of my favorite books because once you finish reading that book, it makes you feel like you've graduated from Harvard and you read a book, because he literally tells you everything you need to know. Michael, make sure y'all, if y'all remember or not, make sure you check out the video I posted most recently with a chat I had on Instagram about a gentleman who does $400,000 a year doing wedding videos and corporate videos, and he kind of breaks it all down. He talks about everything. Great guy. I plan on talking to him soon. Great guy. All right, scam likely phone call. It's all in having the right tools and knowing how to use your tool. Randy 12 say, hey, you're so right. It's all about this up here. We want the computer to do everything, and the computer can't. The computer's not creative yet. So oh, he said the video was dope. 400? Yep. He do 400,000 a year. I was surprised. Corporate, I get it, but wedding videos. But he's in Vegas where they pop. So what a better place. If you live in a wedding destination place, if you live off a coast, if you live by water, if people fly there to get married, you should be taking advantage of that. Any better video light than the Godox SL60 for around that price? Not for around that price. The next thing up is the 120D, the Aperture 120D, which is better. It is a better light. Let's not BS yourself. The Aperture 120D is a better light than the Godox 60. It's just double the price. If you got it, go for it. Somebody said that video was a game changer. That video is dope. It ain't got, like, it's crazy. It's like some of the videos with the most jewels don't get that much love. They don't get that much love. I'm talking about like view-wise or like traction-wise. So, I'm going to get ready to wrap up. I'm not going to stay on too long because when I'm at 37 minutes, I ain't going to do a 2-hour one today. However, I want to jump on and I want to talk about that. He said in the video, always ask the customer what their budget is and not go home. So, yeah. So he had a different perspective than me a little bit. But I tell you to stay flexible based on your market. Your market and your ideal customer is different. If you're working with a business, they got a budget. If you're working with people, they may not have a budget. They're just trying to get the cheapest thing possible. So usually I'll have a reassuringly expensive price that if I say the price is $20,000 and you say my budget is 10, I can work down to that. What he's saying is don't price yourself at $3,000 and a client had a $20,000 budget. You can't go up. You can only go down. So you can't go up. So he said, I see the C200 at 4,000 now. If I see a C200 at 4,000, I'm going to grab one. Somebody said, I think I'm going to buy one instead of an R5. If you're doing video, you can't go wrong with the C200 right now. Non-gear question. What is your approach and your vision when it refers to a lot of your clients, productively, if you're already in project, and it's about post, do you have videos on that? Wicked, retype that for me. I'm trying to make sure I understand that question. Oh, okay, I understand it. Never mind. Listen, so he's pretty much saying, what is my approach if my vision is different than the client's vision, right? Perfect. The client's paying. If they listen, I've had some clients want some crappy stuff, bro. And I'll be like, listen, this is possibly not going to work. You take responsibility for this video not being, I don't say it like that, but you want to give it's like your doctor telling you, hey, stop eating salt. Salt is going to kill you. And what you do, you go home and you eat some more salt. All they can do is make the suggestions for you to be healthy. And they can tell you what you need and don't need to do, right? If you choose to go home and eat salt, you can't come back to me like, Doc, I'm dying. Doc gonna say, I told you not to eat salt. Now you got to take these pills. So you have to approach the customer. And if you approach the customer as the subject matter expert, providing the solution. If they wanna steer off that solution, I'm gonna shoot it. But when you come to me and you later and you say, well, we're not getting the traction. Listen, that's why I offer my plan in writing. This is the plan we offered. Here's the updates you made to take that plan in a different direction, right? We warned you, hey, we really need to stick to a 2-minute video. You want an 8-minute video? It's not a good idea. But you want it, you paying for it, we're going to do it. Customer always get the video they request at the end. Now, again, I make sure I outline in writing what the plan is. If they choose to go in a different direction, that's on them. So somebody said Canon needs to get rid of all of the mounts. So eventually they are going to get rid of all of the mounts because all of those mounts should adapt to RF mount. Still rocking the Canon C300 Mark II and the Canon XC15 and my Ninja Flame 7-inch. Yep, that's all you need to get by. That's all you need to get by. Somebody said we ain't got much, so stay live. Do you have any other customer tips, like what you do to get clients comfortable in interviews? Yes, I actually did. If you go through the quick tip of the week videos, there's a bunch of videos under the quick tips of the week playlist where I talk about things I do to get clients comfortable. The quick tip of the week video is a great video that talks about it. It has some things I do, like remove tally lights. I talk to them about their day. I get them going. I start rolling before we even get started. So it's something that you may want to look into. Quick tip of the week is just go. Quick tips of the week are short. They're like a minute long, 2 minutes long. If you go through that playlist, you'll see a lot. You'll see a whole lot. Where's my graphic at? I'm looking for it. Can't find it. Oh, here we go. Boom, the new graphic. All right. So just something to think about. Why can't I close this? Just something to think about as you move forward. The quick tips of the week are pretty dope. Let's make this bigger because I know I'm gonna get this question. So let's do this now. There you go. Okay. I'm getting ready to wrap up in a minute. My setup for live. My setup for live is C100 Mark 1. First C100 Mark 1 with dual pixel autofocus, though I have it off because on the older ones it only focuses in the center, and I like to do all this, and I don't want all that switching. And I'm using the Sling Studio. So that's my setup. So somebody said you can get a C100 Mark 1 for under $1,000, maxed out about 12, but anywhere I got one for like 7 something, but that's me. If you can find one, you can talk somebody down. It's a steal. It's a steal. I needed a camera that was my dedicated YouTube camera. So the minute I made any dollars off YouTube, I went out and started invested in stuff because my quality was shifting and changing because I'm tearing down stuff. The cameras I use to go make money with, I got to break down and set up and lights and all of that stuff. So I got this set up so I can talk to you guys and chop it up, and I can just come in here and sit down and shoot. And sometimes I would not want to film because I didn't feel like setting all the stuff up again, and I miss live opportunities and all of that. However, now I got it all set up. The C100 is still. C100 is still. Can you give an example of how to find clients without using online marketing? Sure, depending on what your niche is, right? If you know what your niche is, if you know who your people are, you can walk right in and talk to somebody. The problem is most people like, I film everything. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard to go in and lock down a client. If my niche was doing dental headshots, right? That's all I did was, or the dental field. I do videos for dental field. It's nothing for me to create a flyer about what I do and walk into a dentist office. You may get one strip mall that got 5 dentist offices. You go in there and you could talk to the dentist or the owner right then and there. You don't got to spend $1 on Google if you know what your target audience is. A lot of people don't know what they just want to do everything. I do everything. I do everything. If you're doing wedding photography or videography, right, and you got a local mom and pop jewelry store, go in there and work it out where whenever they sell an engagement ring, the engagement ring also comes with 20% off your wedding photos. That mom and pop shop is like, bet, Because now I can sell this ring and I'm giving people something added value with the ring. Go to a wedding cake place and do that. Go to a company that rent out like chairs and do that. Go to a good wedding DJ and do that. So those are ways you can get business if you know who your target audience is. If you don't know who your target audience is because you haven't picked a niche and you're trying to do everything, you're going to be lost in the sauce. But it's really easy. Once you simplify it, once you simplify the number, it's just like math. When you simplify the numbers, it gets really easy. But if you trying to do these big numbers, it's going to be hard. What's the name of the company I purchased my polos from, and how do you go about hiring people for bigger shoots? Under the table. I don't do under the table because you got to pay taxes on that money, right? Don't do under the table because you got to eat them taxes. So let me give you an example. If you make $5,000 and you slide your boy $2,500, guess what? You got to pay Uncle Sam taxes on $5,000. Where if you would have paid him over the table, you only paying taxes on $2,500. Don't do under the table. It doesn't benefit you as a business owner unless you are hiring people who don't have the correct paperwork. That's the only benefit, and that's just me being real with you. That's the only benefit you can have to doing that. Now, there may be certain situations, I don't know. You may have a bilingual client and you need somebody who is fluent in that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what your circumstances are. I'm not saying go do it. I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying there's no benefit as a business owner to eat those taxes. That's all I'm saying. I use a company called Queensboro for shirts. They do embroidery. And Honeybook, if you are a member of Honeybook, which I'll post a link in the description so you can get the discount. Honeybook has a section where you can communicate to all the other photographers or videographers in your area that's using Honeybook and say, hey, I need a shooter for this. And then you can see their portfolio and everything, and you can hire them. And they've been on Honeybook. So that's a good place. Thumbtack's a great place. Outsource is a great place. And Indeed is a great place to find help. Craigslist too. Let's see. In my experience, reading some pre-internet era books and material on marketing really helps when all you know is internet age. Theory-wise, yes, but you got to be careful because a lot of that has changed. Just a lot of it has changed. Theory-wise, yes, but execution-wise, no. You just can't do it. What's the chat software used on my site? I use Facebook. Facebook allows you to send messages. All right, guys, I'm about to get ready to wrap. Real quick, if you're watching this video live, then you obviously had a chance to ask questions. But if you're not watching it live, make sure you go ahead and post in those comments. Let's talk about these cameras. Let's talk about what didn't happen with Sony. And hey, we got the update that it's happening on the 30th. I guess Sony was watching, but they shot me a message. Good looking out. I appreciate the super chat. What was my MOS was 25 Victor, combat documentation, combat photography. That was the way they tried to downplay it. Combat photography, videography. Real quick, Aaron says new to the channel, just caught it. So this stream currently was about the C300 Mark III, the Eos R5, and what didn't happen with Sony today as it was supposed to, and how Canon was shady enough to kind of drop all of their information on the date that Sony was supposed to, but Sony pulled a chess move and moved it. 25 Bravo, I actually wanted to be a 25 Bravo really bad. MOS 25 Bravo, for those who don't know, is like computer repair. It's IT. It's a pretty dope MOS in the military. But if you caught the tail end of it, stay tuned because this video is getting ready to upload and you'll be able to watch it all. All right, guys, I will see you all definitely in the next video. Hey, follow me on Instagram, all right? Follow me on Instagram, Flash Film Academy. Sometimes I go live. Sometimes I chat with people live. But make sure you definitely follow me on there. And I will see you guys. I got to go. But we'll have more live chats. Trust me. Consider doing a podcast. I got one podcast I'm working on that I got to get out, but I will definitely consider doing a podcast with Flash Film Academy. LinkedIn, I don't like LinkedIn. LinkedIn costs too much. LinkedIn, it's just expensive to get started. But I'll see you guys. Stay safe, stay indoors, and enjoy. Go back and look at the quick tips of the week playlist. It's a whole lot of stuff in there for y'all. All right, guys. I will see you guys